In this video, we are going to create this service section. As you can see from here, we are going to create this component here, and I have the finished version here. So the finished version looks like this. So we have the services, and you can see app development, web development, and machine learning. So let's dive in. Welcome back. So in our previous episode, we looked at how we built this about section. It was amazing how we learned how to use this image component. Okay, so we looked at a number of things. If I have to write them down here, we looked on how to use the image component. So use of the image, built-in Next.js component, built-in Next.js component. Okay, so the most important thing is to remember to use this thing, the Next.js built-in component. You must import it. So you must import it from next image. You must import it from next image, just like that. Don't forget that. Just always import from next image. And then the rest of how we use it, you can just pause back, or you can practice. You first pause this, continuing, use another image, try another image, see if you can come up with something like that, where you can control using the fill. Okay, so in this video right now, we are going to concentrate on the next section, which is this one. And in fact, this is the most nice section ever. If you can look, this section is really amazing. It has a lot of concepts. Okay, it has a lot of concepts. As I can show you, it has a lot of concepts that we are going to learn in this section. Okay, so I want you to pay attention. Okay, let's first build how it looks right now. Then we will work on it later to make it use state and all other things I'm just going to introduce. So if you just look at it, it has the same architecture like above. It has these two, this section and the subheading. We already have them. Then next, it has these buttons. Okay, it has these service buttons, and then it has this service component. Okay, so we can just do those two. You can just first do that. I'm just going to come here, create a new section. Okay, create a new section, and this one I'm just going to go to the we can create here the service component. We can just call this one services, not a folder. And by the way, you can also create a folder, and for this case I'm just going to create a folder. I'm just going to tell you why. So you can just create in the components, you can create a folder, and that's why this section, this component itself has more than one component. Okay, it has itself is a component. Okay, itself is a component, but then we also have these other components. Or if you're not comfortable, you can still just really write it as a file, just to avoid confusion. Let me just still maintain it as a file. So I'm just going to say service or services.jsx. So this is the services, all of them, and I'm just going to say rfc. Okay, and then remove this react on top. We don't need it. Okay, now the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go to about section, and I want just simply copy these two lines we used on top here, this h1 here, the h1 and the h2. Okay, just simple like that. So I'm just going to go into the services and turn this into a section, and let me give this class name, and this is services section, just like that. Inside here, just simply paste into these two, and I'm just going to copy this class services section, go to styles. So I'm just going to go to styles, new file, and underscore services. Okay, .scss. Never mind about how many parcel files you have, just simply focus on organizing your code very well. So here we have service section, and don't forget to bring it into main. Just come here and copy this, duplicate this here like so, and this is services. I hope, let me see, services, yes. So we are good. So open services, and the only thing we want to give it actually is a background color of white. Okay, just like that. Let's see how it looks now. Let's connect it. We haven't actually imported it into the page, so we have it here and we have not used it anywhere. So what I'm just going to go, I will just go to page and bring it here, and you look at how our page is looking so super amazing. So I'm just going to say services, it is here, import it from there, services, just like that. Okay, just like that. And if you just now check on it, it should now be able to show off. Okay, so it is here. Okay, it is here, and you can see we have already this and this here. What I'm imagining is, why is the padding not working? Okay, we have to give it padding. Okay, just simply give it padding. So come here, and probably this padding, maybe we should put it on let me just go to this to global.scss. Now we could just bring this padding we are putting on different sections. Let's put this padding here, section padding. So I just say padding, and just say $section padding. Okay, I think it is the best idea, though it affects all other things, more especially this upper one. Okay, then let's just put it on each individual section. Just cut this, and then let's take it to our services, and then on top here I'm just going to give it section padding, just like that. Okay, now it is already looking great, and you can see we have this and this. And for this section we say, what can we do for you, and the services. So go to the services. This one is, the heading is services, and then this one is, what can we do for you? What can we do for you? Okay, great. So this one is, you can see. Okay, this is great. Okay, now I'm just going to work on the buttons. So we have the buttons. If you look at the design, we have the buttons, and then we have this component down there. So we have the buttons and then the service. Okay, the service cards. So I'm just going to come down here into this section. I will first put here service buttons. Okay, and how many buttons do we have? We have 3. So I'm just going to say times times 3. And let me just say the first one is web development. Is it? Let me see. App development. The first one is actually app development. App development. The second one is web development, and the third one is machine learning. Okay, this one is machine learning. Okay, those are the buttons. So down, so you can see we have the buttons. So down here, I'm just going to have service cards. Why am I refusing to get the service? So service cards. Okay, so service cards are this. I mean, you see right now we are seeing one. Actually, I think it is, we call it service card. I don't think they are service cards. Okay, we can just call it service. Down there is a service card, but right now let me just put it in service cards, and then I'll just put only one. So you could just go ahead and give here a service card, which I'm just going to make it as also a component. Okay, service card, and inside the service card there is an image. Okay, there is an image, and then there is this text. So on the left, I'm just going to put image. So we all know now I have to put service image. Okay, and inside here I'm just going to say image from Next.js. So capital image from Next. Okay, and it takes in properties of src. It takes in alt tag. Okay, I'm just going to say here service image for now. And then what else? And I'm just going to make it alt also. Not alt, fill. Okay, as simple as that. So now this is very okay. Now for now we have the service image. Now let's put these images there. We need 3 images for app, machine learning, and others. So let me just come here. One for app development. Let me just see here if I have one for app development, one for web development. So I'm just going to use this one. However much they are so huge. Okay, I'm just going to use this for app development, web development, and one for machine learning. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick them at random. So go to our folder here, and we can put them also here inside, rename them. So this one is for app, this one is for machine learning. I'm just going to call it machine, and lastly we have the one for web. Okay, so we have our 3 images, each is going to be for a different purpose, and I'm just going to put here double quote, and I'll put slash, and I will put the app dot jpeg. Let's see, app.jpg, just like so. So you can see the image should now appear. So on the other side of the card, we have the title, service description, and these service activities. Okay, we can have service activities. So I'm just going to go under this service image. I'm just going to put here also service details. So I'm just going to call this one service details. Okay, so the service details, we have one. Let's call this one h2 dot service title. Okay, which is saying web, in fact this is app development. Okay, development, just like that. Now the next one is a paragraph that is below it, which is rorem. I'm just going to say rorem maybe 30 this time. And lastly is the list items. Okay, the list items, I'm just going to use a UL tag here. You could use anything, you don't necessarily use the UL tag. Okay, I'm just going to choose to use UL tag, and let me just say li here, item not label, and I'm just going to put the first one is building for iOS and Android platform, building iOS and Android platform. Okay, now you could just go ahead and flatten the Java development. Just duplicate this 3 times to 3. Okay, so this one is, say, using Java and Flutter platforms, all languages, and then finally is routine maintenance. Okay, I don't know either the spelling or not, it doesn't matter right now. And that makes up the component. So you see we have the 3 buttons on top here, we have this, and we have also the image which is not showing up right now because of the CSS. We have to work on the CSS. Let's start with the buttons. Okay, let's start with the buttons, and you realize the button, they have the active class. So I'm just going to come here in this, I'm just going to call this one class name. I'm just going to give them here active. There is one button that is active, so I will first come here and I select these service buttons. If you notice, the service buttons on the real design, they have a background. Okay, they have a background. So let me just first go to service. We have service here, and inside the service section, I'm just going to say dot service section buttons. First of all, let's give them display flex, align items center to make sure they are aligned very well, and let's also give them a gap of about 2 rem. Okay, this is not doing anything rather than, in fact, just give also the background color, and the background color we are giving them is this primary light. Okay, so if I check now, so you can see them here, and I want to give service buttons, either I can give them a max width, or I can say, let's say here, instead of display, I just say inline flex. I would want to see how this one affects it. Okay, yeah, this is good. Okay, this is good. Let's first work on the buttons. So I'm just going to go here inside, I will just target the button. Let me give the button some padding of 1 rem, 3 rem, and let me increase its font size to 20, font size maybe we do 25 pixels. Let's see how they turn out. Okay, so they are already looking nice. Let's give them cursor pointer. Okay, and you can see they are looking great. The only thing we need is to make sure it is in the center. So I'm just going to give it margin auto, and that one, I guess it must push it to the center. Okay, that is service buttons. We can just justify content center, so that they just they move into the center region. Not really, but anyways, this will work. Okay, this is going to work. And then these other ones, we don't need to give it a background, so we can just say, okay, background. So we don't need background. Let's make background transparent, and let's also say border none. Okay, and this is how they should look right now. I think we should also remove the outline. Yeah, so you can see they now look plain like this. Let's make font size 23, but just increase the font weight. Let's make it 500 font weight. Okay, that is great. And this one, let's make it 20. Okay, so let's just now create an active button, the active class. Okay, you see there is this active class that have a background color of dark. Okay, so we could just actually put it outside. Okay, out of even the service buttons, we can just put here the class active. Okay, in fact, I just say active button. Okay, and let me make sure it is on one of these buttons. They're having this class active button, so that we see how it looks like. So the first thing in the active button is that it has a background color of dark. It has color white. Okay, yeah, I think that is the only difference. Let's go down. Instead, I just say background here. And let me just look for where to put it in a good place to make sure. So here under the button, I guess it should be okay. I don't know why is the background here is not changing. Color dark. Okay, it is now changing effectively. Now I want to come here and give, so the border radius is on the whole button here, border radius of 10 pixels. Okay, so now you can see this is now active. Let me give the padding around the service buttons. So let me just come here and give padding. So on top here, padding top and bottom, let's give 2 rem, and on the side is 0. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so instead let's give margin. Padding is worsening it. Let's give margin. Okay, yeah, that is looking great. That is looking great. margin top and bottom, and here we could just say auto. Okay, great. So what we are remaining with is we have our buttons here. Okay, now what I need is to work on this. First of all, let's work on the image. So we looked in the last video, we talked more about images, and we are again talking about image. This should give you a good practice. So we have here the image. Okay, now why it's not showing is because it has this field. Okay, so first of all, we have to go to this service image and we make it position. We have to go to this service image and we give it position. Let me just first go inside. These are service buttons. So down here we have dot service image. So the service image, we have to give in position relative because it is the container of our image. Because when you put this field on this image, it makes this image to be position absolute. And for position absolute to work, its container must have a position relative. So this service image, we need to give it this position what? We need to give it position relative, and then we can now get the image. So inside here, okay, the only thing you focus on is giving the image width of 100%. You want to fill its, and here height, you can also give it height of 100%, and for then we'll give it object fit cover, and always this is what you'll be giving here on the image. And then this one, the service image, must be given also width. Okay, so just say width of 50%. Okay, let's give it a width of 50%, and that means where we have service cards, if you go very well, we have these okay, we have this service card. So the service card must be display flex. Where is the service card? So all these service buttons and other things, they are all under inside of service card. So no, not really. It is only this service image. So we have dot service card. Okay, service card, just like so, and inside here we have this. So this service image, you can see the only thing I want with the service card is giving this display flex. If you look at the design, okay, if you look at the design, we have the image this side and then we have this side. So this image and this one, they are all in the service card, but then they are in flex. This is on the left, this is on the right. Okay, so another thing we have to give it is in the service image, we specified width of 50%. Okay, now if you check, we have in the service card, we have the image, and then we have also the service details. So just copy this service details down here. So the details, we also give it width. Let's give it width of also 50%. So if we do that, we should see some differences now. Okay, we can see our image actually is occupying 50%, but then let's give here 40. I'm just going to give service 40, and also service image, I'm just going to give it 40, and then we can have a gap. In fact, we can have justify. Let's first have a gap of 2 rem, and let's have justify content space between. to make sure they occupy the entire width. So if we do that, we have something like this, and this is exactly what we have. Okay, and I think we can increase their width to something like 40, maybe 44. Any figure you put here that you think is okay, you can just put it there. After all, okay, so you can see now we have our stuff looking great. So let me just work on these service details. So first of all, let's give under these service details, I'm also going to give them display flex, gap of 1 rem, and flex direction column. Just as simple as that. To simplify my life here, just give only those lines, and you can see they are well organized right now. So you can actually go ahead and make it more beautiful. I think I'll just stop there. Let me just increase the font weight. Maybe I increase the font weight. Yeah, button looks okay. So this looks very okay. This component is pretty done. We have our image, we have this, and we can leave. Even the image is looking great. You can just go and put in other things if you wanted to give it like a border radius and all those kind of nice things. I'm just going to leave it there. So now our task is one of our tasks is to first of all convert this into a component. I want this one to be a component, this one here. I want it to be a component, so I'll just come here. So this service card here, this service card, I want it to be a component. So simply cut it. Okay, you can simply cut it, and let's create a component. Under components, just say we have a service card, new file, service card.jsx. Why we are making it a component is that we want to use it on other services, because this one was for only one service. I'm just going to simply paste in here, just like that, and there's nothing else you need to change. The only thing you need to change is to import this image on top. Don't forget that. So I've imported the image on top there. That is the only thing you need to do. Okay, otherwise now we simply bring the service card back to this services down here. So inside here, let's just put service card here. Okay, just like that. We should still have everything the way it was. Okay, you see it is back. Now if I wanted to use many others, so I want you to see, I could just do something like this. If I have more 3 cards now, one for web development, so let's say the first one is app development, the second is web development, the third one is machine learning. I can have these 3 cards like so to represent the 3 services. If I come back, you can see them here. Okay, now how do we make it dynamic so that instead of showing this image, it shows for the app development, then show the title for web development? How do we change data dynamically? Like we put the data here, changing on each component. So that is one thing that we had not seen before. Okay, we had seen how to create a component and how to use a component in a place like this one. But now in this scenario, the components, they are more than just putting them there like this. Components, we can give them different properties, but we use the same component, and it displays these things. For instance, what we want is, we want to give, for instance, for each of the service, you see it has a unique title, it has a different description, it also has a different list. Okay, now we're moving on. You see, for all these three, we have to change the image, we have to change the title, we have to change this for each individual service. So let's start. How do we change these things? Say I want to change the title. So when I come and I call this one, I can give it what we call a property. So you see, each service, they have different properties, and one of the properties can be title, can be a description, can be this list items, it can be the image. So all these things that are differing in each of the service, we call them properties. Okay, so I can just say there is a property of a title on this component that is changing, there is a property of a description that is changing, there is a property of the image, and then there is a property of this list. Okay, so now how do I attach different properties on a component? So let's say for this first one, we want to show the title to be app development. App development. Okay, so this one takes in a title, so you can just say I want this service card, but this one I want it to have a title called app development. Now that means for all of them, I can change their titles. Title is equal to, here I'm just going to say web development. The third one, title, sorry, the third one, the title is machine learning. Okay, so we have put them here. So let's see if they will work or if they will give us an error. Okay, so down, you see nothing has changed. You see they still have these things here. Nothing has really changed. Now when we change these titles, we have to use them somewhere. Okay, these ones, if you look at our component service card, inside here it is still showing app development, but we want it to, instead of showing app development, we want it to dynamically show this where it has been called. So we have two things we normally do. One, we define a component, or we create a component in the components or anywhere, and then we use that component. So we created the service card, which is this one, and we went ahead and used it here in the services. Now when we send this property here, when you say I want a property called title, you must come to this component and accept this title property. So how do we accept properties? So just go to this, okay, to this service card, and on top here we accept it as a parameter. So we just come here, we say title. Okay, now why do I put these brackets? Now this is what you call destructuring. So by default, wherever you pass in a property, they actually put it on what we call props. Now props stands for properties. Okay, so if I could come and I console props, wherever you put anything here, where you have used it this side, they attach this property inside these props. Now this might be very hard, but if we could console.log the props, okay, if we can console.log props, let me just run here. Okay, after running here, let's check inside here. Now I want you to see the props. Let me scroll up very well. Okay, look at this. You see title here. So the props actually contain is an object of the whole thing. You get it is an object here containing title and its value. So the only thing we want from here, we want to destructure this. That's why I put brackets and then I destructure this property title. So this is the prop. If I wanted this title, I could come here. Okay, I could just come here and say, for instance, dot title. Okay, dot what? Dot title, and this title is going to give me app development. So what I can just do, I can destructure it here, and I say inside it there is a title property I want. Okay, so we have the title now. Now this title I can instead, we can even console.log this title so that you see it very well. Let me just relearn. Just reload here the browser and let's go back. Okay, in the console here we must see. So you see, so the title is this machine learning app development blah blah. So what we do instead here, instead of putting this service, we can put the title. So want the title to be dynamically put there. So I'm just going to come here and put the title. After putting that, if you come this side and check, you will see magically all the things have changed for the app development, for the web development, and for even machine learning. They have changed, and this kind of thing is what we call props. Okay, these ones we call passing props to a component. So the first thing we did, we passed a property we want to change on each individual component, and for this case it was a title. We passed in the title and we gave it a value, and we went to the card to that component and we accepted that property by destructuring it here. Let me remove this console. By destructuring it here on top, and then after destructuring and we have the title, we went ahead and used it. So the second one is a description. Okay, let me just go and give another property description. So here we can also specify. So by specifying another another property, we just use as an attribute. So you simply put a space here and put description, and we can put a short form as desk. And here let me just say this is a description for the app development. Okay, we do softwares blah 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 blah. Okay, you can just go ahead and put a nice description, but this one now becomes a prop now, or a property we are changing on this component, service component. So to make it work, I have to put it on all of them. Okay, just simply copy this, go ahead on the second one, the web development, put space, put it there, and this one is for the web development. And lastly, I'm just going to put on this one for the machine learning, give a different description. Okay, just simply give a different description like this. And here we could just say this is for the machine learning, machine learning. Okay, now if I go this side, it will not change anything because we have not dynamically used it. So here you are just now putting it, but we are not dynamically using it here. Okay, that is great. Okay, that is great. So now, okay, this is great. Let me just go ahead and use it. So this is, and you have to look at what you sent. You have to copy the name of the property you sent. Control C, go to the service card, now accept it. By accepting, I mean you bring it on top here as if you are using a vanilla JavaScript, these ones are just like arguments or parameters. So accept it as a parameter, desk, and now you have it and you can use it. So instead of writing all this, remove it, and let's put our prop by just simply putting curly brackets, and we put desk. And if we check now in the browser, it is going to change all of them. Okay, so you look at that. Okay, this is the description for the app, for the web, and for the machine learning. So as time goes, okay, so this is getting nice and sweet, but the problem we are getting is that it is getting out of hand. You can imagine we still have a list, we still have the image prop. So this is getting bad. Okay, so one thing we can first do, okay, one thing we can first do is putting each service as an object. Okay, we can put each service as an object. So outside here, and when we're just developing these applications, we are looking at the scalability. What if in the future the app becomes bigger and bigger? So what happens now? First of all, writing data inside these components like this is not a good practice when you're using React or Next.js. So we need to separate the code logic. This is what I'm calling code logic. We have to separate this data we are feeding in, and we have it in somewhere else, and we normally call that one business logic. Okay, so what you could do is that you could just go outside here. Okay, I normally just go outside here, and I can create a data. Okay, you can just say create a file, a new file, and call it data.js. Now I normally just call this file data.js because when you're just working from a client, normally they give you a PDF or a Word document containing the data for the app or the application you are building. So you can just simply come and you have one place you can place that data. So for instance, we can just come here and we create different objects for these services. So you see, we have a service for for app development, web development, and we have for machine learning. Okay, so what we can do, we can put the services from this side, and then we can export those services and we can use them inside here. So okay, inside the data.js, I'm just going to say const app service. So we have app development, so you could just say app service is equal to, and we see they are objects. Okay, they are objects, and the first property they have, the first one is the title. So this title is app development. Okay, the second one is the description, and we're going to use it as desk. Okay, and you can just say this is, or you can just come and copy it here. Okay, and the services, you can just come and copy this and just come and put it here. So just going to paste it here. This is a description for the web development, and okay, this is the app. We need to make this one app, the first one, and then the next one is the image. So you can just say image, and then we have to import the image here. Of course, you could just say do / and you put, this was app.jpg, just like that. Go ahead and put the last one, which is the items. Okay, we can just call them items here, and then these items, we can have them as an array, as you can see here. They're just like these items. Let me copy them here, just paste them here. So they have the first one, the comma, then put the second one, then put comma. So these ones we are putting them into an array. Okay, you see, I have these items. That's why you need to be having all these concepts with you, knowing how to create arrays where necessary. Okay, and even creating objects. So you can see we are creating an app object. So this is this app service object. So now to be able to use it in any other place, we have to export it. That is the good thing with React, and that is why they brought the concept of export. So we can just say export const. So this one means that we can now use it in any other place. For instance, I can come back to services, and on top here, okay, I can just import it. I can just say app service, and you can get it from data. You see, app service from data. If now I console.log this one, we can see it. Let me just actually console.log it. So inside this, let me just say console.log app service. Okay, if I just do that and I run, okay, if I just come here, refresh the page, okay, and I go back here, you see it is here in the console. Okay, it is here in the console and is having everything we need. So instead of just suffering putting all this content manually here, okay, I can now get it from there. Okay, I can just get it from here. I can just say app service dot title. Okay, I can just come here, instead of this one, I say app service dot description. I can go ahead now, I put more properties for the source or the image. Okay, we could give this one as image. Okay, image. Okay, and then is equal to app service dot image. And then we could also now instead of just giving all these ones, again we are repeating the same thing. So instead we can give this card data. You get, we can give this card what we call data. We give it the whole service. Okay, so we could just come here and we call this one maybe service data for you to understand. So we give it service data, and then we say this one is equal to app service. This one is more simpler. Okay, so we are sending the whole card, we are giving it the data. You get, so to have all the services or the to have all the cards, we just should have all its services come this side. Let's create for web development service, and we also work on machine learning service. So going back to the data this side, simply copy this 2 times, 2, 3. Okay, simply change here the names. The second one is the web service, and here is web service. This description is for the web, and the image is web. If you check here inside the public folder, check inside the public, we have web.jpg. Then these ones we can just leave them, the items we can just leave them the same. Then this is machine learning, you can just use ML machine learning service, and this one we can just say machine learning. Okay, and we can just copy this and we just use it here. This is for the machine learning, and here it is called machine.jpg. So here it is machine.jpg, and we can just leave these items the same. So we have for all the services, and we are exporting them, so we can just come this side and we can use them here. So for web development, what we want only to specify is the service data. So instead of putting one destructuring data and we access one item at a time, we can put all of it at once. So let me put here the app the app service. No, this is not the app service, this is the web service. Okay, and you make sure when you use it here, you import it on top here. You see they are being imported here on top. Scroll, let's scroll down. Okay, so finally is machine learning, and I'm just going to give it service data is equal to ml service, just like that. Now this, it has not been accepted. Now you see we have changed the prop. We are sending the service data prop. Okay, we are saving the service data prop. So just copy this and come accept it in the service card. Okay, you can just come and accept it in the service card. Instead of accepting each individual item at once, I'm just going to put here service data instead. Okay, now we all know the service data that is here. So let me first put this back, the titles here. Okay, we all know, let me just go ahead and put here, this is title here to avoid the errors, and I want to explain for you very well. Let me put rem. Okay, now let's just move on top here. I want console.log service data. Console.log service data. So this service data we are sending is actually entering as an object. Okay, is entering as an object. I don't know if it has already seen it. Okay, so you can see, you see it is entering as the whole object. You get, it is entering as whole object. So what we just need to do is now from it we can destructure what we want. Okay, so you can see for each service data we have a title, description, image, and items. So you can just come here. Okay, we say const. Okay, we destructure it. So want to destructure there the title. Okay, want to destructure there description, desk, want to describe there the image, and finally the items, which is equal to service data, just like that. So now we can be able to use them now. Okay, so if I just come here where there is the title, I can just simply put title. And by the way, if you are still having issues with these concepts like the structuring, please you first go and watch the video that is explaining all the essential JavaScript concepts you need to master before diving into React. It is having all those concepts. Okay, you first go there, watch that video, then come back to this one. Okay, if you are finding it hard to see what is the structuring, what it is doing, because we are going to use the structuring, template literals, we are going to use condition rendering, and a lot. So just go to that video and first see how we handled those concepts, and then you can come back. But for now, let's move on. So we have got the title, we have the description. So here where we have rem, remove this and put the description here, which is desk. Okay, now for these items in a second, but for now what I want to put is this image. So remove it here and just simply put image, just like that, because we are sending it actually here as an image, this one. And finally we have these items. For the items, let me first leave them in a second. I want to see if the data is actually working. So move down. Wow, okay, the images are taking some seconds to come, but I can see other data is coming. This is coming, the web development, the machine learning, and even the images are coming. Wow. So congratulations if you have done this. This is really nice. Now you know how to use props. Once again, let me explain how the data moves. The most hard thing I've seen with beginners is to understand how data moves until it reaches in the component like this. I want to remind you, so we started having our components, we created all of us these components. Okay, so the first thing is these components we created the service, they need to display some data. That is their purpose. A component is purpose is to display um, the UI, and to display the UI it needs some sort of data. So we first went and created our data here in data.js. So we created all our services. We have the app service, we have the web service, and even the machine learning service. Okay, now these services, they are containing the specific data we need. For instance, the image, the title, description, and even the items. Okay, they are just the properties we are having inside here. Okay, so after exporting this as an object, it now comes to the page where we are using it. So it comes into this component called services, and you can see we bring them by importing them. We have them, all of them being imported here. So here now the importing them makes it available. Now when we call a service card, okay, which is expecting to display some data, we have to give it that data to it. So we said service data. And by the way, this name here, you are the one who names this. It doesn't know which term you want to use. Whether you call it data or service data, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are giving it the right, correct data format, and that you are just actually receiving this prop you gave a prop as service data. When you go to this component, make sure you are receiving the exact one that you sent. Okay, then after reaching here in this component, we destructure out the data from this service. We now extract it by destructuring just like this. Now to those ones who are wondering what you are going to do with the items is an array. So we want to come here on this array here, and we map them throughout. And we are going to talk about the concept of mapping, I think, more often, and we'll talk about it more. But take here a chance. So we don't need all these ones, we only need only one item. So we need to map through our items. So I will just cut this. So inside here, I'm just going to put these brackets, and I say items, and I will just call a map. And on the map, I have access to individual item. Okay, so I just going to say I have access to individual item, and now I can actually display this item. So just come here and just simply remove and put item. As simple as that. Now one thing that you have to understand is if you do loop using the map through the items, each individual item must have a unique ID. It must have a unique key for it to display very well. Okay, so we specify here a key. Now to get the key, what we can actually use, since the items they might be the same, we can just add one thing here. On the item, we can also have the index, and then we can use this index as a key. Now if this is somehow hard for you, also watch the other video to see how we do map through items, because map we use it a lot and we are going to use it all the time. So you need to understand this syntax. When you do a map on an array, you have access to an item. You don't have only access to an item, but actually even the index of that item in an array. And we're using this index of that item to be a specific unique key, identify it, and then we pass it on to this item. Okay, so just doing that, it should just remain exactly the same here. Okay, you see it's exactly the same, but this time we are actually mapping through it. Okay, that is great. So having done all this looks so much good. Okay, of course we still have one problem. Okay, the problem we are having, of course, is um, the problem we are having is we don't want, if you see in the original here, we don't want to show all these things at once. Okay, want to show if the app development is the one which is working, want to show the app development here only, and others they should be hidden, not having all of them at once. If web development is there, then we should only have web development. If machine learning is the one which is there, it should be only machine learning. So we use these buttons to control what we see down here. And this is a very, very common usage you are going to find. Okay? If you are going to implement this using pure JavaScript, it will take you ages and a lot of code. But now, let me take this opportunity to introduce the state. So JavaScript, the React uses state to manage these kind of things conditionally. So we want to conditionally render a service card, or want to show this service card depending on which service is active. Okay, you see we have this service here. We want to render this part depending on which service on top here, or which button is active. Okay, when the button is active, for instance, by default we have app development. By default it should be the only one showing here. Okay, it should be the only one showing here. So how do we manage that? So there is what we call state in JavaScript. So I'm just going to come back here in the services, okay, and on top here, okay, on top here I'm just going to create a state. And how do we create a state? So a state is, you just create it in this way. So I'm just going to say const service comma set service is equal to use state from React, and the default one we want to be app. Okay, the default service want to be app. So what is this? This is just simply the way we normally create say let service equal to app. This you see here, that's why it even shows you it has already been defined, because they are seeing it down here. Okay, so these, they are the same. This you see here, let service is equal app, and then is the same as this one. The only difference is that when we create it using use state, this is a React hook. Now we don't need to go and understand so much the React hooks. The best way to understand them is to use them. So we have this like this React hook or React function that is helping us to manage this this variable. So this, as I told you, this let service is equal app is same as this exactly. Why? Is because with use state we define it in this way. And why we are defining it in this way is to be able to have this set service. Now set service is a function that can help us change this service. Now here we do it manually to change from app to web to what, but here when we define it using this syntax, the first thing is that inside the brackets of use state you can give the default value for this variable. So here I'm giving app as a default value to service, and this function you're seeing here, this one is actually a function that is going to help us, okay, that is going to help us set the service or change this service to something else. Okay, you might not understand that one at first, but as we continue doing this, you are going actually to get to understand it. Now moving on next is how, now what next? Now if I come on console.log, if I come and I say console.log service, first of all we are going to get an error which I want you to see. So if I come here, use state, they are saying that you are importing a component. Okay, now I want you to see this error very well because all of you are going to get it, and I want to explain it once and for all. So they say you are importing a component that needs use state. It only works in a client component, but none of its parent are marked with use client. So they are server components by default. And for sure, this error is so much explanative. So right now in Next.js, if you are moving from Next.js 12 or if you have used Next.js before, this wouldn't be a problem, okay? But right now in Next.js 13, the new one, all components, they have been made server side. What do they mean? It's just the way you look like, maybe let's just take example of PHP. So like all of them now, they're just like on the server. They are not on the client, okay? So that means if you want to use something that is going to use the browser, like this use state, you have to turn this component into a client component. And how do we do that? So what we do instead is that you go on top of the component here, on top, and just put use client. Just as simple as that. Only one line like that will solve our problem. So now you see it has gone. Okay, now we can actually even check the console. I think even here in this console here, okay, you see we can see now our console is up. Okay, last time all the consoles were showing this side. They were showing in the terminal because they were server side. Right now you see our console is not this side, but then it is actually this side. We can look at it in the browser here. Okay, let me reduce this. So we can see our services.jsx 9. Okay, and the services are here, and on line 9, let me scroll. On line 9 you can see we have console.log service, and you can see it's just taking this value up. That means this is a typical variable, just a variable, and we are setting it to be service at first. Okay, so that is great. So when do we want to change these services? Okay, so how this works is that when someone clicks on web development, we want to change the service from app, we want to change it to, okay, want to change from app to web. When someone clicks on machine learning, want to change the service from whatever it is to machine or machine learning. Okay, so how do we do that? So the first thing is we have to learn how to put an event listener, or how to put an on-click event on a button, and it is not so hard. Okay, it's not so hard. So let's just come here. Okay, let's just come here on these buttons here. So the first thing, you are going to first create a function that changes the, like for instance, the service into web, into machine learning. We want to create all these three functions. The first function is to change the service into app service. The second function is when we click this web, it should convert this from app to web, and when we click to machine, it should convert it from whatever it is to machine. Okay, they just to do that. So the first thing is come here and create function. So I will create three functions. Okay, I will create three functions. I'm just come here and say first of all const. So you could just call them just functions, a normal function, and the first one we can give it a name of convert or handle. Let's just say here handle app service. So this one, when we say handle app service, I want its purpose to change from whatever it is to service. And how does it do it? Okay, how does it do it? I'm just going to come here and I say, for instance, handle app service. I'm just going to say set service, and I want to set it to app. Okay, I want to change it in wherever it is into app. I'm just going to create all others. Okay, another one is, you can just call it this, and you can even just change the name, convert to app service, something like that. Convert to, maybe that one is a familiar name, convert to app service, and then this one can just say convert to web service, and this last one we can just say convert to ML service, machine learning service. Now I have all these three functions. So when you say convert to app service, it will change, and you can use it is using this function set service. Okay, so this one has ability, this function has ability to change this variable into another value. So when we click when this function convert app service, it will change this variable to app. Convert to web, want it to convert to web. When you click on this one, we want to change this one to machine. Okay, so we have three values here. We have the app for the app development, web for web development service, and machine for machine learning service. Okay, now we could actually just call this one ML for machine learning. I guess it is shorter. So we have these three functions. We want these functions to be called, or want them to run when a certain button is called. Okay, so let me just come here to these buttons. And how do we put an on click in React? So to put an on click event on a button, simply put a on click here as a property, or as, that's not how it is written. Just come here and can put space, say on click, just like so. Put on click, and then inside here you specify the function you want to run. So for this one, this is app development, want it to run convert to app. Want when we click this button, it should convert the service into app service. When we click, so just copy this. Okay, let's do it on all of the buttons. When we click on this web development button, want simply convert to, so just write this one, convert to web service. Want it to be converted to web service. The third one, let me paste, and this one is going to be convert to machine learning. Okay, so to test that this is working, we are going to go to the browser, and you can see by default. Okay, let me hope we don't have any problems right now. So right now we don't have much issues actually. So what I want is, when I click on web development, the service, let me see if we are still consoling the service on top here. Yeah, where is it? Let's console the service, console.log service. So by default, because we did use state and we said by default should be app, on the console we should see something like app. You see, it is showing app. On 919 it should show it is showing app. But now when I click on web, what I want is it should change to web. You see it changed to web. If I click on machine learning, it changes to machine learning. Wow, that is great. Okay, this is great. When I click on web again, it converts it to web. If I click on app, it converts it to app. Okay, that is really, really great. You have done converted, or you have added successfully these functions. We have put them to their places. Actually, just remove this. Okay, we have removed all this. We have managed to attach these on click handlers on each button, and each button, if you see, is actually doing its service or is doing its work. Okay, it's doing its work very well. It is converting a specific, if I click on web, it simply converts it to web, which is really great. Okay, now moving on. What I want is, if, for instance, if the service is web, then this class should move from here to the web button. If the service is maybe ML or machine learning, it should move the active class from wherever it is, it move it to this button. That means that our class active that we put on this button, remember, the active class we had put initially on this active button, it is dependent on the active service, or which service is selected at that time. Okay, and that's what we call condition rendering. So this class we are putting on app, we only want to put it on the button that is corresponding to this service. Okay, now to do that, what we can do is, here we remove this class. So we want to put this class dynamically. We want to first check if the service is, for instance, app development, then we put the service here. Okay, so I'm just first going to remove this. I'm just going to put this, and then I put backticks. So those who don't know backticks or template retros, they can help us to inject things. Okay, by the way, before we do that, we just need only these brackets, not backticks. What we need is these brackets is want to do an if statement here. And how do we do if statement in React or Next? So I'm just going to say service, if service is equal to app. Okay, if this is true, if the service is equal to app, it will first check, and I put question mark to say if this is true, what we want is want to show this class. Want to show the active class. So here I put active button, want to show the active btn, else want to show an empty string. We don't want to show any class, or we simply remove it. Okay, so this I've put here is an if statement asking if the service is equal to app, then we know the app service is active, and we put the active class. But if it is not true, that is the else part, then we simply remove it. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on all the buttons. Okay, so to this second button, okay, to this second button, let me put space and paste it here. I want to say if service is equal to web, you see this one is web development. If service is equal to web, just like that. Okay, if it is equal to web, then simply show the active else, just give it as empty. Then go in the third place and do the same thing. We say if the active is equal to ml, and these figures I'm putting here are the figures we have here. We have three app, web, and ml. That is the three services we have. That's why I'm saying if service is equal to ml, then put the active button, else remove it. If we do that, okay, and we refresh, now by default is app development, that is, you can see by default is app development, which is active. If I click on web development, you see now it changes to web, but the class, active class, jumps onto the web development. If I click on machine learning, you see that the machine learning, this jumps to machine learning. Okay, and already that is changing really nicely. I love this. Okay, this is changing really well. Okay, so that is nice, but then this down here is not changing yet. Okay, So we only want to show the app development service here if the service is app. We want to show here only web development if the service is web. And we also want to show machine learning here alone if the service is machine learning. So how do we control conditionally these ones? Okay, so I'm just going to come here. Okay, so if you realize we are all having service card here. Okay, we are having the same service card. What is actually changing is the service data. Okay, what is changing here is the service data. The card remains the same. You can see the card is the same, but what is changing is actually the data. So that means I can just write the condition only for this card as we change the service data. Okay, so how do I do that? I'm just going to first remove these ones. Okay, and we remain with only one, like so. We remain only one, like so. So what we're going to do is an if statement before we put this, the service data. We are going to do an if statement. Okay, so I'm just going to say here where I'm putting the service data. I will remove it, and I'm just going to write an if statement based on service. So you say if service is equal to app, if this is true, that's the question mark. If this is true, then want to show the app service. Service data is equal to what? Is equal to app service. Else, okay, else if service is equal to web, okay, if this is true, then I want to show the web service. Okay, and if this is not true, by the way, we don't need this here. If service is equal web, then show web service. Else, then just show the machine learning service, which is the machine. Did we call it machine or ML? I don't know. ML service. This is the if statement that you need. Let me repeat how it moves. If the service is equal to app, if this is true, then want the service data to be the app service. Else if, we are doing else if, so this is how we do else if using the ternary operator. So this is what you call, by the way, ternary operator. If you're having difficulty understanding this, first go and watch the JavaScript essentials and come back when you know very well ternary operators. But here we are doing else if. Here, else if service is equal web, then if this is true, then show the web service. Else, just show the machine service. And with only that, it should be working by now, and you can see it is showing the right component. Okay, this is really great. So machine service, it is showing machine learning, web. Okay, there is a problem. Okay, app, machine, web, and machine. Wow, yeah, it's working now. So the app, you see, it becomes active. It changes the data that is here. You see, it changes the data. As you click, it is comparing, making this if statement. Okay, is making that if statement. And web, you see, it changes everything. And then machine, it so changes everything. So this component is one of the best, most used components on the web. We can just simply change something small, like the height. I feel like the height of this card should be much bigger. So here, let me just specify the height. Maybe let's just say 500 pixels. I don't know if that is much. Let's see. Okay, that is really much. Let's just try 300. Okay, let's try 300 and we see. Yeah, I think that is okay. Okay, that is okay, but you can see we can now change all this dynamically, and this is what you call state. So we have looked at state, we have looked at condition rendering, and so many other concepts that we have looked at. Thank you so much. You can rewatch this video over and over and over to understand these concepts I've used to come to make this component work. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I will see you in the next video.